Day 678. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate all of your support. Please like and subscribe this video. On this episode, we are going to tackle what is known as one of the Trans Am reinforcement steps that are taken on cars of this era to make them stronger and more durable during open racing. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be tackling what is known as the shock tower outside brace. And I have lost my template. Perfect. Okay, here we go. So, as you can see, this is the, good, you can see this. This is the side of the car, the outside of the car. This is where the engine would be, the engine bay. These are the components of the fender apron, shock tower, and frame rail. So inside where this shock tower is, it mates up with the frame rail on the side. And a component that is added to that section right in here is this shape, and it slides down inside there just like this. You can see that. Let's make that bigger so we can see it. Yep, good, right here, basically right down in here. That's what we're going to be working on today. Let's get started. Okay, so we have our template. We have essentially where it's supposed to go. We also have our plate, which is 16 gauge. What I think we're going to do, since I think 16 gauge is probably not as thick as it could be, is I think we're going to make two sets, and then we're going to sandwich the two together. We're going to spot weld the two to each other, and then we're going to use one that is essentially what is the equivalent of 12 gauge steel or 1/8 inch. This is 1/16, and we're going to use two of these together to make it even stronger. So this is a 24 by 8 sheet of 16 gauge weldable cold roll steel from your local Lowe's box store. And we're going to use this template to draw our shape just as soon as I can locate a marker, which is right here. Here's your marker. Here's your template. So as we drew this and cut it out to fit the shape of the frame rail and shock tower, it is just a little over 12 inches. So like 12 and a half peak to peak. Probably you're going to have to make some trimming on it anyways. And it's not quite 6 inches at the highest point. And that's what we are replicating on our steel. So the way we're going to do this, since this is a little over 12 and this is only 24, is we're going to put one this side, and then we're going to flip it over and put it this side. That way we'll be able to have both pieces come out of one piece of steel. These were about $14 a piece, if I'm not mistaken. So for less than $30, we were able to get some pretty beefy plates into our shock towers. So we're gonna trace this out. Good, beautiful, fantastic, amazing. We're then gonna flip it over and trace this out. Now, because we are doing this from scratch, rather than buying a pre-made plate, it's going to require a significant amount of trimming. But because shock towers are produced in varying shapes and sizes from different manufacturers, we're probably going to have to do trimming anyways. So we weren't able to eliminate that step or add any extra steps just by going to something that is custom and from scratch, because we were going to have to do trimming anyways. So I wrote on here driver's side, but I'm fairly certain that this is not the driver's side. So I have over here, one of the shock towers. Let's see if we can get this guy turned this way. That's not bad. So you can see, I think this is probably for the other side. I'll have to double check, because this is actually the driver's side, but that says front. So in reality, that would have to be going this way. But this is how this fits into here. Right in here. Now, some people trim it so that it's on top of the edge of the frame rail this way to eliminate any of the drips down into the corner. So we're gonna have to decide if we're gonna do this the way that it shows in the book, or if we're gonna do it on top of the frame rail this way. Now, the benefit of doing on top of the frame rail this way is it ensures that we're much lower in the shock tower, which gives us more room for the movement of the upper control arm. Obviously, if we're going all the way in here, it's clearly higher up and closer to those holes. These two sets of holes, this is the standard stock location. This is what's called the Shelby drop or the Arneson's drop, which corrects for some problems with the geometry of a stock Mustang. So this actually looks to be pretty good as a starting point, especially if we're going to go for top rail installation. It keeps this pretty far away from these holes, these mounting points, and allows for us to have very little clearance issues with regards to the upper control arms. Looks like these points will actually curve up into here nicely. That looks pretty good, not too many gaps. So I think we're okay with that. Now we have to decide if we're going to cut the two pieces and weld them together, or if we're going to cut the two pieces and weld the first one and then weld the second one over top of it. That we haven't decided either. We do have to prep this whole area first, because underneath here there's going to be a cavity, and because there's going to be a cavity in there, because there's going to be a cavity in there, we're going to have to prep that and prepare it for not having moisture or rust or things of that nature. So we have several products that we can use, but my head is like totally cut off and all this stuff. I'm awesome today. Doing a good job. Doing a good job. There. That better? And I'm like Tetrising the whole thing, so it's like, hey, how you doing? So we have to prep this area. We have to prep specifically where we're going to be welding. That has to go down to base metal or weld through primer. Currently, this is already in weld through primer, so that'll actually be fine. But we want to scrape this out and clean it and have it ready and have the cleanest surface that we can for our piece, so that when we go to put it in here, it actually is going to be the best possible welds. So that's what we got going on here. And let's see what we can get accomplished today. So we've got seam sealer that we can use with our, you know, one of them. I see one sticking out over there. Hold, please. Technical difficulties. Brushable and paintable. Brushable. Well, how is it brushable exactly? That I don't understand. It says brushable, but I don't know what that means. Maybe that means you just squirt it out. And let's see, I need to figure out a way to make this piece. Well, let's do this. Let's move this over here. Let's move this over here. Put this guy down here. Oh, that way it's lower and easier to work with. Okay. And the reason we're seam sealing is because we want to make sure that there's very little moisture in these corners before we actually cover this up. So, what did I do with my... Oh, it's over here. It's over here. Okay, we used a little pointed guy to pierce the tube that way. And where's my towel that I used to clean up? Over here. I know I had a better one of these, but I can't find it at the moment. So we'll just run with this. But this should be fine. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put seam sealer. Are you going to stay? You're going to stay? Good. We're going to put seam sealer right in here. Right? In here. There we go. And I'll take one of my silicone gloves and put on one of my silicone gloves in a second and smooth this out. This is just to get enough in there to deal with the cavity. Now these weep holes over here in the corners you're supposed to leave open and not cover up, which is exactly what my plan is to do that. And now let's look and see. Okay, so that flange is there. So we'll throw that in there. That's pretty. Take some pressure off of this so it doesn't keep squirting out. Put that off to the side. Let's grab a glove. Let's smooth this out. Ooh, that smells terrible. So this seals these parts that are welded together and keeps moisture from coming back up. Of course, one would have to ask themselves, if there's weep holes, isn't there water going to come up inside there from the bottom? And the prevailing theory is no, it will not, without an explanation. So you just got to have faith that that's the right way to do that. Okay. And I'll now take this off, throw that in the trash. And so now we have to kind of set that aside. Let's see what it says on the tube. Clean, greasing, and we haven't moved any extra cartridges up. It's kind of, no. Working time of up to 15 minutes, paintable in 30 minutes with a 24-hour cure. Okay, so we will set this aside. We'll go grab the other. We'll go grab the other one and do both of them. And I don't have a TV Easy Bake Oven, so this will have to be a multi-step process. Obviously, you remember I had the whole front end together. So that was over here. So now we're gonna have to take this apart, this assembly, and just leave this stuff on here. All right, this ought to be fun. Let's just put that back on top of this pile. Let's take this. Oh, it's so heavy. And put this guy up there. Ooh. All right, let's clean that out. All right, and basically now we're going to do the same thing on the other one. So we're going to have to do some bending, which will be fine. But this actually seems to be a little further that way. And this side, we may have to do a new template for this side because I think I might have done this with the edge down inside there. Yeah, that's what I did. And we may have to do a new template similar to this one for this side, which allows for more. See, there's a gap there. So we need a different template which allows for more in here. This will have to get bent here. So this side we're going to need even more here. And this is all going to have to get shaped into that section that way. So that's what we're looking at as far as how that fits in there. So let's see where I put this. Is it this one? Let's look. Let's look back over here and see if this is this one. Okay, so this is this one. So what I need to do is leave more. I need to not cut this edge. So I will leave this out here like this. And leave this out here like this. When we go to cut this, to leave some extra material because of what we saw inside that shock tower. All right, so now what we're gonna do is now we're gonna move over to our bench over here, and we will get to cutting that piece.